Hi everybody, welcome to the Amateur Footy Show brought to us by West End. It was a big weekend last weekend for the upsets, and Division 1 Eastern Park went down to, Eastern Park beat Sacred Heart, who were in third place by 23 points. Big surprise there. The coach of Sacred Heart going to join us a little bit later on, but we don't want to talk about that. Divi 3, Flinders Park on top of the ladder. They played Mitcham, who are in second spot. Most people predicting this would be the match of the round, Division 2, and be a close one. Mitcham by 68 points. Division 5, West Croydon, number 1 on the ladder. They went down to the 9th place Lockleys by 5 points. It's almost like the moon wasn't in a line at the moment. Divi 6, Adelaide Uni in 6th spot. They defeated first place Kenilworth by 2 points. And Division 7, get a load of this one. The score, Sacred Heart 36-17, 233 points. Defeated Appleston, 1 goal to 8 points. 255 point winners. Sacred Heart, Cameron Carroll booted 15 goals, might rocket him to top of the goal kicking in Divi 7. Great balancer in sport, you never know what's going to happen. As I welcome the legend of footy, Gary McIntosh. Macca, what a weekend for upsets.
Yeah, it was a bit of a funny old weekend. The eclipse probably had a little bit to do with it, and I just want to correct you, Phil, it is actually 225 points the winning margin.
225,
yeah, I've just done a quick sum there.
Did you?
Yeah. But we
not for me to remember at the start of the show.
I know it was. And no, look, Gazer winners again, but I think Nathan Granger had to pull a few boys into line, so a little bit happening out there at the Gazer Footy Club.
That's one thing about footy. I guess it's like any sport though. From week to week, you never know who can win.
Well, you're always a chance, aren't you? It's a two-horse race, and if you bring your best game, you can win any day.
Payneham Norwood Union, they were nearly a chance. 3-pointer.
Yeah, we played some pretty good footy, and we led by 22 points at three-quarter time, but we had 7 players new into our side, and I think that told on us in the end because they just got a little bit weary. All
right, time to welcome special guest in the studio, the coach of Sacred Heart, Jack Horan, joins us. Jack, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Phil.
Now, I know you don't want to talk about Eastern Park, so we'll just slide that, pretend it never happened at all. Playing coach in Divi 1, how are you finding that?
Oh, I think I'm really enjoying actually getting back out to play as well as coach, and I had a really good support staff. Obviously Aldo Floriani and Mick Moller and Pat Lambert and the B grade coach have been really good for me, and yeah, just really enjoying getting out there and being able to, I suppose, lead from the field and get some direction and feedback straight away to the players. It's really good. Is
it tough? I mean, we were talking about it before we came on air. In a winning situation, not too bad, but when you're losing, a lot more difficult then? Yeah,
when you're losing, I suppose you're out there on the ground trying to manufacture something or think about what I can do next or what's going wrong, and you tend to take a bit more of a step back, and I played a lot more on the bench on the weekend just to be able to try and take stock of what's happening.
Normally when a team's getting a flow on, someone likes to start a bit of a fight. Now you're not built for that. Macca, of course, if the flow was going, you'd start a bit of a rumble. In your position, how do you stem the tide?
Yeah, I suppose that's something that earlier in the year we had the same, I suppose, issue against Salisbury North, where they were sort of, I think they'd won one game and we were sort of on a bit of a roll, but we didn't really stop the flow then. So we're actually working on a few, I suppose, strategies to come to really address that problem. But there's one thing, we haven't lost for about 6 weeks, and then after the bye we sort of, I suppose you forget about it when you're winning. All those little things go under the mat, and it just raised its head on the weekend, so it's something we've got to work on.
Now, you took over from Paul Sandico, played in the grand final last year. Have you sort of followed on with the style of footy that Paul had put in place, or have you come in there and made big changes to how you wanted to play?
Well, I suppose we had a fairly big change in terms of the way that they played the year before, which was very sort of accountable, man-on-man, contested footy, and I sort of bring a bit of my experience from Glenelg and the structure that we had down there, and just I suppose a slightly more attacking game plan to use our youth and skill and speed to our advantage.
And especially when you've got players like Juniper and Taz Borski, you want to be able to kick big scores with them blokes, playing up forward for you.
Yeah, something that I sort of looked back before I took on the job was that we only kicked over 20 goals, I reckon, in one game, and that was when Taz didn't play. But I think one thing that we, obviously he's a real dominant player and he gets a lot of the footy, one thing we try to do is get the ball in there quicker, so it's a one-on-one contest, and I think that it's pretty evident this year that we're getting the ball in there quicker, and it's giving them more shots at goal, which is good.
Jack, you talk about your time at Glenelg. There seems to be a good link between Sacred Heart and Glenelg. A lot of players swing between the two. I mean, I know Jack Noonan's back there this year from the Bay's been a good pickup for you. So is there a good relationship between Sacred Heart and the Bays? Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that you know, Sacred Heart really want to work with. We've obviously got a lot of blokes from college footy that go to Glenelg and play under 18s and go on to play reserves footy. And I think if you look at the senior side at the moment, or the seniors and reserves at Glenelg at the moment, there's sort of 8 or 9 blokes who've come from Sacred Heart in the last sort of 2 to 3 years. So we just want to make sure that when those guys come back and come back for a week with us, we give them, all the opportunity they can to go back up and play senior footy with Glenelg.
You played in the school system there at Sacred Heart, and under the tutelage of the great Anthony Goodrich.
Yeah.
How'd you find that? And who were some of the players that you played with that have gone on, that played in that years you were there?
Yeah, I suppose Goody's been really good down there, and I suppose he's the toughest part of his job, I suppose, is management of all the talent, and he seems to do a really good job. As you can see, there's lots of blokes going on to play senior footy at SAAFL and AAFL level. When I was playing there through year 11 and 12, I played with Kane Corns, and then Jared Rivers, Jace Porplecia, and there's a few other blokes who got on the list, Andrew Mackey, David King, and there's a few others that sort of
the list goes on.
That list, yeah. So yeah, it was good to play with those guys, and obviously that sort of helped us get that success early. And one of the reasons why people come back to play at Shocks is because of that feeling you have through school footy. You coached at the Bays, you talked about that before. How was that experience? Oh, it was really, I learned so much about footy, about myself and how I perceive footy, and just obviously we had a few blokes coming back from the AFL that really brought some experience back as well, but just I suppose the pressure of the game and the competitive nature on the coaching side of things as well was something that I really learnt and was really enjoyable for me. When you take the coaching from Glenelg and then coaching into Sacred Heart, I mean playing and coaching, which is hard enough, can you draw a parallel between the demands of both? Yeah, I suppose the demand is almost the same, but the focus slightly shifts. In my role last year, I was sort of really focused on, we had a lot of young guys, so I think we had 10 or 11 blokes leave that were sort of those mid-range players that were playing up and down, and they left, so we had an under-18 side that won a premiership the year before, and we wanted to really develop these guys to play senior footy, and spent a lot of time watching videotape and a lot of time giving feedback, and the hours at the club with huge amount of time. And whereas coming back to Sacred Heart, there's obviously, you don't have the videotape facilities, that kind of stuff, but there's a lot more administration type stuff. With this year, the start of the year, we had 30 blokes miss out on a game for the first 3 weeks, so we went from having 4 teams to having 5 teams, and then just that management of those players to, I suppose, keep them coming out, and obviously they want to play with their mates and they want to play for Sacred Heart. So it was just the first couple of weeks with a lot of management of expectations and saying, we are getting you a game. We weren't expecting this sort of volume of players.
There'd be a few clubs that wish they were in that position. Now the seasons get long, and you obviously need some characters at your footy club. Some of the funniest people you got at your club.
Yeah, like there's someone posted something really funny on Facebook the other day, and this guy, he played pretty well senior footy last year, was Bill Sperling, and just he's been chipping away. He's had a few injuries, but he's just he really he's not shy in coming forward, and I think he's really funny in terms of the fact that he'll have a crack at a joke even though it might not be funny, and it's sort of a numbers game for him, and generally he's pretty good.
So he's on the law, if I throw enough jokes out, eventually one's funny?
Yep.
Okay, he's not one of those characters in the change room that will nail the coach's boots to the floor or something so he can't get out on the ground?
Well, I wouldn't put it past him.
Coaching for you, what drew you to coaching? I mean, obviously you can still play. Why coach and play?
Well, I suppose that during the last year of playing at Glenelg, I sort of was I suppose technically an older bloke at about 25, and Michael Godden was the coach at that time, and I sort of I was tossing up whether I keep on playing or you know, go back to Shocks and play, but I had a chat to the club, Darren Chandler at the time, and all the football operations down there, and I thought when I first started playing reserves footy, it was either blokes coming back from league footy or real young blokes, and they lacked that sort of mid-range player to take some leadership, and so the last year of my I suppose playing, it was back in 2008, I was doing coaching courses and, you know, trying to help out the younger kids coming through and really taking a leadership position through the reserves, and yeah, just I suppose that's where I got my desire to do it from.
Yeah, with the thirst. All right, big weekend for you this weekend up against Gazer, undefeated. They are the juggernaut. We mention them each week, so
yeah, definitely.
Got a plan for them?
Well, I suppose the thing about Gazer is they're really well balanced, and they play very disciplined team football. They've got good structures in place around the stoppages. From what I've seen of them, they implement a full ground press, which tends to hold you in your back sort of half of the ground, and they really do that well. And then when that doesn't work, they go strong man on man. And I suppose it's just that at their stoppages they have good setup, good structure, and they break really hard from the stoppages, and they got they're set up with their big guys in close and their quicker, faster blokes getting ready to break. And I suppose for us it's just about, you know, adapting to what they're bringing and trying to break that zone.
At our club, normally players come and tell me they can't play on Saturdays because they've got work. Do you have issues with players at your club not being able to play on Saturdays?
The only, I suppose, just recently, like exams, I suppose, is the main thing, and some people do have work to go into state, but generally I suppose that it's they're there for the love of it at Shocks. You know, we don't pay players, so they're just there to play footy, and generally they arrange something so they can get out in the park.
Jack, well, we really appreciate you coming in. Big game against Gazer. Hopefully it's a beauty. We'd like to see the Shock boys get up and stop that great run Gazer are having. Time for us to have a look at the West End Player of the Week. Now, Macca, the Player of the Week, what does he get?
Well, he gets a carton of West End beers. Now, I don't know whether it's the 30-pack or the 24-pack, but you'd hope it's the 30-pack so you can share 21 of them.
21 of them. All right, time for us to take a break. Stay with us, still lots to come on Grassroots Footy.